Today we're taking a look at two content creator packs for Cities Skylines 2, Skyscrapers and Supply Chains. Both of these packs do something really interesting. They try to expand the game in ways that we haven't seen before. And in one case, they create a whole new gameplay loop that I think you're all gonna love. But honestly, this shouldn't be surprising, because these packs were made by two of the best asset creators in the entire Cities community. Revo created the Skyscrapers pack, and he has an absolutely incredible track record. He made more than 1,000 popular assets for Cities Skylines 1, created the Mid-Century Modern Content Creator pack, and assisted with the Bridges and Piers Content Creator pack. And for Cities Skylines 2, he was part of the teams behind both the French and Netherlands region packs. Bad Idea created the Supply Chains pack, and brings an equally strong portfolio. Their Cities Skylines 1 work includes a bunch of assets that I use in Clearwater County, including the historic post office, network fences, parking lot roads, and for CS2, they were part of the Southwest USA region pack team. With creators like these, it shouldn't shock anyone that these packs aim big and look fantastic while doing it. So in this video, we're gonna deep dive into each of the content creator packs. I'll walk you through each of the assets and I'll explain what makes them special. And then I'll give my overall thoughts on whether the content creator packs are worth picking up or not. And without further ado, let's jump right in. We're gonna take a look at each of the content creator packs separately, starting out with the Skyscrapers content creator pack. And what you can see is everything that comes with this pack. It's 15 skyscrapers, which are all signature buildings, 2 service buildings, and 3 new props. Now that might not sound like all that much content, but I assure you it is because of all the upgrades that each of these buildings have. The way that I've organized these is I've separated them by their type of building that they are. So in the back right here, we've got residential towers, then we've got mixed residential, commercial, office, and then we've got our service buildings. So we're gonna go through each of them one by one, apply all the upgrades, and take a look at the base building stats. This is the Lighthouse Point building. It gives you negative 2% import cost citywide, plus 2% entertainment citywide, and plus 5 well-being within 4 kilometers. It also adds 300 households, not residents, households. So this thing's gonna have a ton of residents. The building is absolutely lovely in its base configuration. You can see that we've got this beautiful plaza in the front with some plantings. We've got a second story right here, actually probably like a 4th story, where there's some gardens and plazas and places to hang out. It's a very, very lovely looking asset. But we get to add on to it because it has an upgrade just like many of these buildings. This upgrade, the Wellness Center, is a multi-floor wellness center complex that includes a gym, indoor areas for activities, and an open-air swimming pool located on the top floor. And because of that, it adds plus 10 well-being within 2 kilometers, plus 5 healthcare within 2 kilometers, and plus 75 indoor recreation. Now, this is applied within the footprint of the building because it's an extension. Some of these are extensions, some of them are sub-buildings. So when we add this on, it goes right there, right within the footprint of the building, adds on and makes this look even better. Absolutely lovely addition. Now, the reason why I say that this pack is so special is that is what happens with all these buildings. And that is the most benign of all of them. Some of these get absolutely wild. Starting out with the next building. So this right here is a smaller tower than the last one that we looked at. It is the Ball Creek building. This adds plus 2% well-being within 2.5 kilometers, as well as 750 households. What makes this building so special is its upgrade. This comes with a police station. So yes, you can add a police station within the footprint of this skyscraper, and it looks like this building. This adds 48 jail capacity and 35 patrol cars. And look at this, it looks the same, it's added onto the back, but it does more than just that. Now, in the base configuration, you can see that we've got a plaza right here, a lot of concrete, some surface parking, and a little rock garden back here and some EV charging. When we add this on, it adds this 2nd story terrace area where people would be walking around. We've got all the police cars in the front. We end up getting a security gate right here, and it just ends up looking a lot more complete. We also still have all the amenities that were here before. They're just underneath this deck right here. And we get this new reflection pond. Now, what makes this so special is it means that in a dense downtown environment, you'd be able to have your city services within the footprint of your skyscrapers. So you don't have little tiny buildings that kind of detract from all the skyscrapers around it. It's a really nice way of incorporating city services into a dense downtown core. So this is the Grandview Heights building, or building complex, I should say. It has 5 buildings in its base configuration and 5,000 households. This is an absolutely bonkers asset. So you get these 5 towers of varying heights, 5,000 households, and there are 2 additions. The first is a downtown hospital. So this is another service building, And look at how unique that is. This isn't another tower. This is another story that wraps around 3 of the towers. But this hospital upgrade adds 2,200 patient capacity, 30 ambulances, 2 helicopters, and 2 tons of storage for pharmaceuticals. So this is a serious hospital. And as we add this on, you can see that we get some underground parking. We get our parking for our ambulances, and then we get this beautiful hospital that has its own parks on its story, along with some seating where people could hang out on their lunch breaks or if they were waiting for a surgery to be completed or something like that. So the next addition is also within the footprint of the building. It's the Disease Control Center. Check this thing out. It's actually the tallest tower in this site. And when you add all of these within one parcel, you get 4 towers that all have a unique but still fairly similar design aesthetic wrapped by this hospital. What a unique asset. I don't think that we've ever seen anything like this. And the thing that is so cool about this is you don't have to apply all the upgrades. You can apply the upgrades that work best in your city and have something that's really, really unique. Just a beautiful asset. And finally, we have our final residential asset, the Silver Dragon, which adds 2,500 households, adds 10% attractiveness citywide, 10 well-being within 5 kilometers, and 150 indoor recreation. Now, again, this has 2 upgrades, and these ones are very unique. We have a city college and library, which increases both the university and college graduation chance by 2% citywide. Keep in mind, though, this is a college, not a university, and it has 5,000 student capacity. Now, this one is not within the footprint of the building. So if you wanted to move this a block away, you could do that. If you wanted to have multiple of these, you can. And this has a completely unique design aesthetic, has a kind of a bronze looking exterior, and it's reflective. Very, very cool texture, kind of has a contour lines look. I really, really like the way that this looks. But we're not done with this yet. We've got one more addition. We've also got the Geotechnical Institute. This adds plus 100% to your oil and ore deposits citywide. And this is another standalone tower. Those were strictly residential buildings. Next, we're moving on to our mixed residential buildings. This first one right here is the Emerald Towers. So this is residential and commercial. It adds 2% entertainment citywide, plus 6% well-being within 2 kilometers, and plus 75 indoor recreation. It also has 400 households, and because it's a commercial building, you're going to see a commercial building show up in here. But we've also got an upgrade, an elementary school, and this is going to add another story onto the pedestal of the building. It'll make the pedestal about 4 stories taller. And with that, you get an elementary school with 2,500 student capacity. Absolutely lovely. Next, we have the Docklands Tower. This adds plus 2% industrial efficiency citywide and plus 5 well-being within 3 kilometers. This one will add 450 households, and it looks like it's added a convenience food retailer inside of this building. And just like the other buildings, we have an upgrade, and this upgrade is a fire station headquarters with 16 engines and 3 fire helicopters. And this one gets added onto the base of the building. Let's look at it in its base configuration first, though. We would have some parking at the bottom, along with more of these kind of gold-looking windows down here. And it's just a very nice-looking asset. On the ground level, we got a nice pool and green space on the next level. And then just the entire asset is expertly put together. Got a couple of gardens and places where people can mill around, and a number of balconies that just give this building a whole bunch of texture and variation. An absolutely beautiful looking asset. Now again, we've got that fire station headquarters that we can add on to the bottom. That basically adds on these 4 bays for our fire engines. And then at the top is where our firefighting helicopters would be located. And you can see there they are right on top of the building. So cool. And then lastly, we have the Hurston Yards. This adds 5% entertainment citywide, plus 5% attractiveness citywide, and plus 15 indoor recreation. This also adds 2,100 households, and it looks like we have a furniture retailer in here. And then I did a quick test. I deleted and replaced this building to see if we would get a different type of company in here. So the first time around we had a furniture company, and this time we have a beverages company. So for this content creator pack, you're not necessarily locked in with a certain type of company, which is fine by me. But look at this asset. This thing is absolutely beautiful. And when you get in here at the ground level, you can see that there's a lot of detail here. Planter boxes, different variation for the glass panels on the front. Just feels like a special building. And as you work your way up the building, you start to see additional seating areas and balconies. things that would make this feel like a really unique building. And around every corner, there's something special. Now, just like the other towers, we have some additions here. The first is an observation deck. This adds another 3% attractiveness citywide and plus 100 entertainment. Now, this goes onto the side of this building, and you can see how it adds that on. And you can just imagine walking out here and being able to get the best vantage point of your city from this tower. We have one more addition. This is the Hurston Tower C. And this is actually a sub-building. So you can place this right along the side of this building or across the street, whatever you want to do. But it has that same mirrored architecture for the top. It's not gold, but it has a similar style, which just really makes this feel special. Next up, we have two commercial buildings, and I'm incredibly excited about these, and I'm guessing you probably know why. We'll get to it in just a minute. The first right here is the Kansai Tower. This adds plus 2% attractiveness citywide, plus 5% demand for electronics citywide, and plus 150 indoor recreation. This thing has a huge number of employees, at least with its current employer, which is a foods company, 1,941 jobs, which is kind of wild. And it also has an upgrade, a high school. So if you need a high school in your downtown area, you can add this building and add a 3,000 student capacity high school. Now, let's take a look at the base building first. You can see absolutely beautiful building, a little bit of parking right here with some EV stalls. We've got a rock garden, and at the street level, we've got a whole bunch of planters and the decal for the company. Zooming out a bit, you can see that up here, we've got a really nice patio area with a whole bunch of seating. You can imagine people going up here and having a really nice lunch break, admiring the views of town. And at the top, right up here, you get a helicopter bay, even more seating, and probably some of the most spectacular views in the entire place. An open air cafeteria, absolutely lovely. So now let's add on that high school, and this gets added on in two locations, right here on top of that patio and right here on the side of the building. You can see that we get some of the classrooms right here. We also get an outdoor gym, so a basketball court and a tennis court and some cafeteria seating right here. And then right here, we get another patio and more planters. And honestly, it just makes the building look that much nicer and adds a vital city service right in the heart of your commercial core. And then we have a building that is probably not all that surprising that I'm excited about. This is the Great Tower of Commerce, aka the Sears Tower. This looks identical to the Sears Tower, and because of that, I absolutely love it. This adds plus 8% attractiveness citywide, plus 2% industrial efficiency citywide, and plus 10% demand for software citywide. It also has an upgrade, but let's take a look at this base configuration first. This is a very tall tower. Out of all of these, it's the second tallest, just behind the Silver Dragon over here. This is lovely though. I love that it really embraces the greens. It's got some seating out front, a couple of planters, got some EV charging back here, some more green space. But we also have this upgrade right here. And this upgrade is really special because you can see that this actually adds onto the pedestal right here, covers up some of that park space down here, but adds park space to what I believe is the fourth story of the building. And then we get some covered parking right here, and we get some gold glass. It's just really a classy looking building with this additional pedestal on right here. Now, this pedestal is a shopping mall, so it adds plus 200 outdoor recreation and plus 75 comfort, but it does more than just that. Take a look at the number of parked vehicles here. 203 capacity, and when we add this on, up to 820. So not only are we getting a really nice park space, not only are we getting this mall, we're also getting a whole bunch of vehicle capacity for parking. So really nice addition to the downtown area in that regard. There's someone making this really beautiful Chicago-inspired build that they keep posting on Reddit. I am imagining that they are going to be absolutely pumped that they're getting this asset, because if they add this to their build, it's going to truly feel like Chicago. And then we have our 6 office buildings, starting out with what is kind of a smaller building, the Seaworth building. This adds plus 2% office efficiency citywide and plus 2 well-being within 1 kilometer. And this is already a very beautiful asset, a couple of reflecting pools down here, some of those gold windows that I love so much. But we have one add-on here, and this add-on is really special. It's City Hall in a skyscraper, and this reduces city import costs by 5%. And Space City upkeep costs by 8% citywide. This is really unique. So this gets added on to the back of the building, makes this tower even more special. It still serves as an office building for a software company, or at least it's a software company right now, but we also get that city hall. So if the city halls that come with the base game or the region packs are not good enough for you because they don't fit the dense downtown that you have, now you have this building. Next up, we have the Coruña building. This is a medium-sized office tower that adds plus 5% software production citywide, plus 5% demand for software citywide, and plus 5% well-being within 2 kilometers. And this is another one of those buildings that has some really special add-ons. The first is going to make this building into a university. That'll be an additional use in here. And right now you can see that the building has 0 student capacity, but if we add this on, we're going to convert a portion of this building to be a university with 3,000 capacity, which is super cool. Next, we have an auditorium. This adds plus 1% interest in university citywide, and this is an extension. So you can add this onto the back side of this building or across the street or anywhere within this radius, wherever you would like to. And then we have the research wing, and this is basically a tech incubator spot. So this adds plus 15% electronics production efficiency citywide and negative 5% industrial garbage citywide. Now this one is a unique building, so you can only place one of these, but it mirrors the architecture of that main building. And honestly, the building is just as grand as the original. Now for this one, you can place it across the street or you can attach it to the parcel. You can't do what I'm doing right here, setting it back like this, unless you're going to have a road connection. But just an absolutely lovely building. And it's really unique that the sub building for this is actually taller than the main building. Just shows you the creativity here with these assets. Next up, we have the Finaster. And this is a finance-focused tower that reduces loan interest citywide by 25%, increases export profits by 5%, and reduces import costs by 5%. Interestingly, this is one of the few towers that does not have any additions. So what you see is what you get. But what you get is a really nice tower that has a European design aesthetic. Very, very nice looking asset. Very, very lovely. No add-ons for this one though. Next up, we have the Arum Spire. This is a sleek and futuristic skyscraper that increases your demand for software citywide by 2%, reduces industrial air pollution by 12% citywide, reduces industrial ground pollution citywide by 12%, and increases well-being within 2 kilometers by 5. This is an absolutely stunningly beautiful, very modern looking asset. It does not have any sub-buildings, so what you see is what you get, but this is a relatively tall tower, and it has this absolutely beautiful gold aesthetic, both in the glass on the base and all the way around it. A very striking building, one that is really going to define your skyline. Absolutely lovely asset. And contrast that with this building. This is significantly shorter, and it might look familiar. And that's because it has a very similar design to the Bell Creek building that we looked at earlier. This is the Arroyo Seco building, and this is a modern skyscraper that is very, very small relative to some of the other ones that we looked at. It increases office efficiency citywide by 2% and well-being within 4 kilometers by 10. But this has probably one of the more unique upgrade paths for any of the buildings that we've seen so far. So in its base configuration, check this thing out. Got these reflection pools all the way around it with sculptures in there, and really nice base. You'll be able to walk up the steps and walk into the front of the building. Very striking design. Absolutely beautiful asset. And on the sides right here, get a nice pedestrian path that wraps all the way around. And again, this building looks identical to the Bell Creek building in terms of the design aesthetic. So this would probably look really nice next to this building. It's got that exact same parapet along the top, hiding all the mechanicals. So again, very, very nice looking buildings, very, very similar design aesthetic. But here's where this gets interesting. So the add-on for this one does something very unique. So check out the bottom. This is a police headquarters. So the Bell Creek building was a police station. This is a police headquarters. So 40 jail capacity, 70 patrol cars, 2 police helicopters. So you probably wouldn't want to place these side by side and have both of those upgrades. You want to pick your poison, but you might want to go with this one because of how it looks. Did you catch what this did? It dug out. So we're dropping down, and now we have this reflection pool that is actually sitting on pillars, and underneath it, we've got all of our police cars. So the police would actually drive down underneath this building, and the police headquarters is underneath this office tower. This is so incredibly creative. So I think that this is the base asset And the upgrade is actually removing the top level, which is kind of just like mind-blowing to me. That's a completely different way of looking at assets. And it's lovely. It just works so well. I'm blown away. It's super, 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 super cool. And then our final office tower is for those that are fans of brutalism. We have the Long Wires Tower. This adds plus 2,000 network capacity citywide and reduces crime by 5% within 5 kilometers. This is clearly a telecom building, but it's also a regular operating electronics plus software business right now, and it has 3 upgrades. So we can add a substation onto this building. So in its base configuration, you get this brutalist tower with very few windows. This has this textured concrete all the way up. Looks like a prison, but it makes sense with what use is in here. Imagine this being a very secure facility. Then we add on the substation. Now this substation is getting added onto the back of the building. And you can see there is our connection point right back there. And while you could connect onto the back right here, my guess is that most of you are going to want to go underground and connect up like this. I would guess it would look fairly unusual to see the wire coming out the back of the building like this, but going underground makes perfect sense to me. I think it's also worth pointing out that this building adds battery capacity. So if you want battery capacity in your city, a battery backup, this is the building for you. You could place this right in the downtown area. Maybe that's another reason that it doesn't have windows. Secure facility, plus it would be very ugly because it's just a big battery array on the inside of it. Now for our next upgrade, we have the communications array, which is a state-of-the-art communications array providing fast and reliable intercontinental communication service. This has a range of 10 kilometers and adds 40,000 gigabit per second network capacity. This goes right onto the top of the building, makes the building even taller and even more interesting to look at. And then we have one more upgrade for this building, an emergency shelter, which adds 30,000 shelter capacity to your downtown area and 15 evacuation buses. This one goes right onto the back of the building, so right within the footprint of the building, and it looks every bit as brutalist as the rest of the building. It looks weathered too, which I think is a very, very nice touch. Now, even though many of these skyscrapers that we just looked at have city services as upgrades, we still get 2 standalone city service buildings. The first is the Terminal City Bank, and this is the same as the central bank that comes with the vanilla game, with one caveat. It adds 1% crime rate within 2 kilometers, so think white-collar crimes once you place the Terminal City Bank. So it's an interesting addition. This one also has an absolutely amazing add-on. It has a subway terminal. So if you want to have a subway in your downtown, you can add that right underneath your bank. And as you add this on, check it out. There's your subway terminal. You can see right at the bottom right there, you get your subway terminal that you can walk right down to. Check this out though. Look at the details. We get some art hanging from the ceiling right here. It is a very modern looking skyscraper, very tall, very narrow. You can see how this was retrofitted into an area within the parcel that was available. And it's just absolutely beautiful. Multiple stories of these decks, multiple seating areas, multiple gardens. You could see that this would be a really iconic skyscraper for the community that it's placed in. And then our second city service building is a combination post office and parking lot. This is a really unique building. And you can see that in the front right here, we've got our parking lot, and in the back, we've got the post office. And the nice thing about this is it allows you to blend a post office into a downtown area seamlessly. Now the upgrades, the first one is the Center of Postal Services, and its base configuration, you can see that we have a basic post office. And when we add this, we're going to increase our sorting speed, storage capacity, mailbox capacity, and post vans, as well as post trucks, and increase our industrial efficiency and our office efficiency citywide by 2%. This gets added right onto the front of the building and has a very similar design aesthetic to the rear building. And then we also have a downtown restaurant edition, which adds 2% to your city attractiveness, 3 well-being within 2 kilometers, and plus 20 meals. And this one goes right onto the top of that parking deck. And it really increases the attractiveness of this building, at least in my opinion. You can imagine a whole bunch of people sitting up here, having their dinner, admiring the streetscape beneath them. Absolutely lovely. And then last but not least, you get 3 new props with this content creator pack, these 3 urban benches. And you can imagine configuring these to create really nice urban plazas. And these were sprinkled throughout the asset, so if they look familiar, that's why. Because these are skyscrapers, I think it's really important that we take a look at all these assets at night, because that's one of the things that makes skyscrapers really, really impressive, the way that they're illuminated at night. And I just got to say it, Revo has really knocked this out of the park. All these assets have architectural lighting. All the balconies are all illuminated. Really expertly done too. It's not all the same light. We've got some soft whites. We've got some bright whites. We've got a little bit of everything. We've got reflections off the buildings themselves. And it really makes these assets pop at night. And Cities Skylines 2 already does an excellent job lighting up the interiors of buildings. So they really pop. They look really special. Look at this. Architectural lighting around the parapets right here. Absolutely exceptional. But I've got to show you one. One building in particular, I think, has the most exceptional lighting that I've seen on any asset. This college right here, take a look at the way that these contours are illuminated. It just looks absolutely exceptional. Beautiful asset. Love the architectural lighting. This really makes this pop. This would be something that you would enter the downtown and just kind of gawk at and go, oh my goodness, what a striking building. And I feel like that is the attention to detail that Revo has put into each and every one of these. I've also got to point out the Sears Tower. Yes, I'm going to call this the Sears Tower. It's definitely inspired by the Sears Tower. And I love that just like the Sears Tower, we have the spire right here illuminated. This is another detail that I feel it makes this really special. Even the tops right here, you can see that the tops are glowing red so that aircraft would be able to see the spires. Absolutely exceptional. And that detail, again, every single one of these assets. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful buildings. Look at this. We have the gold exterior illuminated with architectural lighting. Just loved it. Just love that. These are absolutely exceptionally beautiful assets during the day and at night. Revo has absolutely killed it. Next up, we have the Supply Chains Content Creator Pack. And I've just got to say it, this might be the most unique content creator pack created for either Cities Skylines 1 or 2. It actually adds a new gameplay loop to the game. And I feel like this chart demonstrates that as best as anyone could. Basically, when you add this to the game, you get 27 unique buildings, 9 of which have upgrades. And they all correspond to a specific resource in the game. So there is a supply chain for timber, for grain, for livestock, for textiles, oils, or each one of these industries has buildings and a progression mechanic attached to it. Now, this progression mechanic is the same as the other signature building unlocks. So you're gonna have to produce a certain number of resources to get to the next building. But the reason I say it's a new gameplay loop is that it does it for each of these resources and it tells the story of your city along the way, which obviously I love. So I've organized these assets in the exact same way as the chart that we just took a look at. And I'm going to be demonstrating how these are all organized because there's a pattern all the way through. Now, for the first building, you're getting your main processing building. It's always going to be an industrial building. This building is going to have an upgrade. This is an upgrade that will unlock after you unlock the second building, which is either an industrial building or a commercial building. When you sell enough goods or produce enough goods here, you will unlock the upgrade for the first building. This upgrade will give you the buffs. So the initial building doesn't have the buffs that are normally associated with a signature building. And that's really important because that means that if you're using Anarchy or Dev mode, you could place multiple of these without completely throwing off your simulation. It's only when you have the add-on to this building that you get that buff. And then the fourth building is always an office and it always has buffs. So I've organized this by resource type. And the first one that we're taking a look at is lumber. We get a particle board factory. This currently has 109 employees and it produces timber from wood. So this is basically making particle board that's turned into furniture. And once you have produced enough of this particle board, you'll end up unlocking the antique store. Now the antique store is here because a whole bunch of people are buying new particle board furniture. And as a result, they're getting rid of all their old antiques. And that's why we have the antique store. Once enough goods are sold here, you're going to unlock the upgrade to the particle board factories. Then once you produce enough particle board, you'll get the tier 4 building, which is an interior design studio. So this pattern repeats itself all the way through, and all of the assets, they're just expertly put together. Next up, we have our grain supply chain, and this one's really interesting. The first building right here is a cereal mill, and it has this beautiful grain silo. And it's the sort of building that you could see in a small town, in a rural environment. All over North America, you see these sorts of buildings, and this is really expertly done. I love that there's some weathering on this, and the asset just looks beautiful. From here, we move on to our next building, which is a baker and confectionery. So You take those convenience foods and you sell them right here at this baker and confectionery. Once you sell enough convenience food, you'll unlock the upgrade, which makes that mill even larger, makes it even better. And this gives you that industrial efficiency bonus citywide. That's ultimately the main purpose of this add-on right here. But again, it tells the story of the mill getting even bigger. And then you might wonder what comes next. And it's kind of a curveball, but I kind of love it. We end up unlocking a television production studio. So the reason that we're doing this is people want to eat their cereal with their Saturday morning cartoons. So as a result, we get this TV production studio. And this is the sort of asset that is just really special. And it's something that you could build your community around. You better believe I'm going to be placing this in Segunda Beach. This is awesome. This is completely different than anything else that we've seen in the game before. And when you unlock this, I think you'd really have a sense of accomplishment and an excitement that you get to place an asset this unique and this different than anything else available to you in the game. Super, super cool, and a really interesting narrative and story to weave into the game. Next up, we have our livestock supply chain, and this is a really interesting one as well. The first thing you get is this processing facility right here, which is meaty bits, and you can see that there are a whole bunch of animals waiting to be processed: chickens, pigs, cows, all waiting to make their way into the facility. Some grain silos on the side to feed them while they wait. The kind of asset that you would expect to see in any small town that has a whole bunch of agricultural activity. And the building looks a bit weathered, which I really, really appreciate. It doesn't look like it's a shiny new Disney World asset. Lovely. When you process enough meat, you unlock the farmer's market. This is a building, again, that does not have an upgrade path, but gives you -1% import cost citywide, +1 attractiveness citywide, and +3 while being within 500 meters. This is a lovely asset. I could see this really fitting in a rural community that wants to really attract a lot of people in with their agriculture. I could also see this being the anchor of like a fairgrounds or something like this. This reminds me a lot of the Viroqua area. There's two things in Viroqua that remind me of this. They have an organic grocery store that kind of reminds me of leafy greens. But the other thing is, within their fairgrounds, on one side of it, there's a whole bunch of Western-looking buildings where you can buy things. And that's kind of the vibe I get right here. So you get this nice farmer's market that you get to walk down. And in the back, you can sit down and have some food without all these food trucks. Have your kids play in the back here. It's just really nice and a very large asset. Super unique. I don't think that we have anything like this in the game. And it's super, super, super attractive. Now, once you sell enough food here, you unlock the upgrade to your Meaty Bits factory. And look at this thing. Now it is big. It has smoke billowing from the top. It really feels like this operation has upgraded and leveled up in a really significant way. And then our final building in the supply chain is the Livestock Exchange. And this is an absolutely beautiful facility. The red tile roof. It's just a very grand looking building. Another building that you'd be really excited and proud to unlock. Absolutely beautiful. This again is an office building, provides that +5% industrial efficiency citywide, +5% export profits, and +5% in entertainment citywide. Our next supply chain is vegetables, and our first building is the energy drink bottling plant. So this takes vegetables and turns it into beverages, kind of a utilitarian looking building that you could expect to see in basically any small town. Relatively small factories. Again, this is the tier 1 building. No buffs associated with it, so you could place this multiple times if you're using mods or dev mode. Once you sell enough beverages, you unlock the sports bar right here. This is an absolutely beautiful asset that could fit in a variety of communities. It's got a little sporting complex on the side, pavilion back here where you could watch, and then some outdoor seating. And just a really nice looking asset with a whole bunch of textures. And I love that, again, we get what appears to be a little bit of weathering. Just really, really, really appreciate about this. And again, this sells beverages. And once you sell enough beverages, you're going to unlock the upgrade to that first factory. And this makes this look like a much more substantial operation. You can see that it basically adds this whole centerpiece right here and unifies that front and back building. Just makes it look like a much larger operation. Then once again, once you sell enough beverages, you're going to unlock the final building right here, which is the bottle cap office. Absolutely interesting looking building. I love the red right here. It looks so, so cool. This is going to, again, increase your industrial profits, export profits, and your entertainment citywide. But ultimately, what you're really getting is this really interesting looking office building that I think would fit in a variety of communities. Once again, I can see this being on the outskirts of a small town, being one of those kind of quirky and eccentric buildings that you might see when you drive in, or it could be in a much larger community in the suburbs. Very, very cool asset. Now we make our way to textiles and we start to get into some larger assets. So the first building that we get here is an athletic wear factory. So this is a monstrous asset, probably one of the bigger assets in the game. And this is going to fit into so many industrial areas. I already can't wait to place this one. I'm going to place this in my industrial parks. This takes cotton and turns it into textiles. Very, very nice looking asset. Very, very large. Love the parking field. Feels very substantial. Now, once you've sold enough of your athletic wear, your textiles, you're going to unlock Bass Pro Shop. I mean, the sporting goods store. But honestly, if you've ever seen a Bass Pro Shops or Cabela's, you know exactly what this building is. It has that iconic log cabin design. Just an absolutely beautiful asset. I can't wait to place this one in my communities. This is going to fit in so perfectly around the mall in Segunda Beach. I love that the parking is already set up. Nice parking field in the front, another one in the back. Could be another access to the store, or maybe it's the employee parking, the loading zones back here. This is just perfectly set up to fit into a suburban shopping center, and it's just a very beautiful looking asset. Very, very, very nice. Now, once you've sold enough textiles at your sporting goods store, you unlock the upgrade to that factory, which makes this thing even bigger. And you can see, this is where you get your industrial efficiency citywide. And ultimately, the difference between the two assets is that it's just bigger. It just extends onto the back a little bit more, makes it feel a bit more substantial, and ultimately makes it feel like the factory is really leveled up. And then finally, once you've sold enough of those textiles, once again, you're going to unlock the brand and lifestyle center. And that's because everyone looks really good now, and they have to have a place where they can show everyone how good they look. And they're doing that right here at this brand and lifestyle center. And this would really fit in nicely in a very urban environment, I think. Very trendy place. You can see there's a whole bunch of activity up here at the top, a skate park, whole bunch of seating, some concert venues, just a really interesting looking asset and a lovely story as you progress your way through the supply chain. Next up, we have oil, and this one is different than you might be expecting. The first building is a rocket fuel refinery. So you're taking crude oil, turning it into petrochemicals, but this is a rocket fuel refinery. Again, another absolutely beautiful asset, absolutely beautiful addition to an industrial area that is focused around the oil industry. Now, once you've sold enough petrochemicals, you'll unlock this, which is another industrial building, the nanopolymer synthesis unit. This will take minerals plus crude oil and turn it into chemicals. And again, this is not a direct turn something from that last factory into something else. This tells the story of that supply chain, which I absolutely love. Now, once you've sold enough chemicals, you'll unlock the addition to your rocket fuel refinery, and it just makes it look that much bigger. And then once you've sold enough of your petrochemicals, you're going to unlock the final form, which is the Launch Pad Payload Control Center. This is a really nice looking scientific office building that could fit in a variety of contexts. Just a very nice, very attractive looking office building. Really, really, really lovely. Now we make our way to the ore supply chain. The first thing we get here is a blast furnace, and this is just a really nice industrial looking building. I could see tying this into a port complex or having it right next to it. And once you've sold enough of your metals or produced enough of your metals, you'll get the casting fabricator. So this turns metals plus plastics into vehicles. And what we're really getting is automobile parts, train parts, maybe even bicycle parts. You're getting all of those out of this factory right here. So very, very, very cool. Then once you've sold enough vehicles, you're going to unlock the upgrade to your blast furnace, which adds on this facility right here, which basically encloses some of the previous facility. Again, that gets you that industrial efficiency boost citywide. And the final thing that you unlock is the steel building, which is a beautiful glass and steel tower built from metals mined and smelted right here in our city. It is a nice looking tower. Again, a little bit weathered, but even if you get this pack over the other one, that means that you're getting at least one skyscraper, which is pretty darn cool. The next supply chain is for coal, and this one's going to really excite you if you're trying to create an industrial waterfront, something like Gary, Indiana. So right here we have the steel works. So this takes metals and coal and turns it into steel, and it is an absolutely massive asset. And it employs a lot of people, 379 at this one right now. And of course, these numbers change over time, so you can imagine that increasing as things go on. And once you've sold enough of your steel, you're going to unlock the fabrication unit, which is going to take metals and steel and turn it into machinery. Now, once you've produced enough machinery, you're going to be able to unlock the upgrade for the steelworks, which is going to enable you to produce even more steel. And ultimately what this does is turn that initial steelworks into a much larger looking facility. Once again, you get the front pieces right here. This makes it feel much more complete. And then once you've produced enough steel, you get the final building right here, another skyscraper, the Energy Lobbying Office. This is a really nice historic looking building, which I really appreciate because there aren't a lot of historic looking office buildings in Cities Skylines 2. So this is going to be one that I'm assuming that many people are going to use in their communities. Then our final supply chain is stone. Their first building right here is the concrete batch plant. Very basic looking building, small building at the front, processing right here, and a couple of piles of rock that are being used to create concrete. Once you produce enough concrete, you'll unlock the gravity separation unit. This takes stone and turns it into minerals. And this one looks very similar to this one. I can imagine these going very nice next to an aggregate mine, looking really, really appropriate in those locations. Once you've produced enough minerals, you'll unlock the upgrade for your concrete batch plant. And take a look at what this does. Really makes it feel larger. For some reason, adding that fence around there for me makes the parcel feel larger, but adding on this facility in the front of this, I mean, that does wonders as well. So just makes it look much larger. And then once you've sold enough concrete, you unlock your final building, which is a suburban looking office. This is the strip mine office. It's the headquarters for your mining company, and it's a very nice looking asset, very nondescript looking asset. And the kind of thing you'd see in many communities. I love the way it drops down back here, kind of hides the best part of the asset for the employees and the workers of this company. Really, really, really nice. Now, we took a look at the skyscrapers at night. I figured we should do the exact same thing with our supply chains assets. And these, just like the last assets, are absolutely expertly illuminated. Take a look at this. Got this really nice lighting up all the doors right there, reflects off the metals, looks really, really good. For the downtown assets, look at all the different lighting. It really adds a lot of interest here. Love on the side of the building. I'm just noticing it now at night that we've got some windows that have been patched up. Some different textures right there. Makes the building feel like it has a sense of history, like there's a story behind that building. Then right here again, looks even better once we get that add-on, even more lighting, even more interest. Then we get this really beautiful looking office building. Look at these. Look at these. Look at the lighting on these. Absolutely next level. Looks absolutely beautiful. Imagine placing these on your shoreline. Imagine the light that you would see from your boats coming into the city. All the steam rising up, just absolutely beautiful. The towers look beautiful as well. A skyscraper that has a little bit of smoke billowing from the top, a little bit of steam billowing from the top. So cool because it's an older building, that Art Deco flair right there. And then right here, again, more buildings that have more interesting lighting, illuminating just what's necessary. And then as you get to the larger asset, just makes it look very, very complete. Just looks very, very nice at night. These are some really beautiful assets. And then finally, one of my favorite tests, the Recolor Test. This is the test where I take every single asset and I turn the color palette to red, green, blue. And what you can see is that all of these assets are highly recolorable. All the upgrades are recolorable. There's not a single asset in here that is not fairly recolorable all the way through. So there are obviously a couple of assets where there are certain components that are not recolorable, but for the most part, if you want to customize these assets, you're going to be able to do that. And that applies to both of these packs. Maybe even more so to the skyscrapers. Check this out. Red, green, and blue, incredibly evident in all of these. There are only a couple of towers that are not highly recolorable, but most of these are. You can just see, you can have so many possibilities here. Absolutely lovely. Love that they've taken the time to do this. And the final thing I want to do is show you what these assets look like relative to other assets in Cities Skylines 2. And I thought that the best way to do that would be to actually place some of the assets in my existing build. So here we are in Bend. And one important thing to notice is that all the skyscrapers and all the supply chains assets unlocked for me because this is an older build and I've already met all the requirements. So if you want to work your way through that progression, you'll probably need a new build. But either way, here's the lighthouse point. This is one of those smaller residential towers, and you can see this would be the largest building in Bend. Bell Creek was one of the smaller buildings. This would be, again, one of the biggest buildings in Bend. Grandview Heights would be absolutely massive here. The Silver Dragon was the tallest building in skyscrapers, and my goodness. we're going to need to grow a bit before we place a building like this in Bend. The Emerald Towers could work in this build. You can see the footprint of these buildings are much larger than any of my existing blocks. So I'd basically be taking an entire block and replacing it with this asset. Docklands Tower is another one that was kind of a moderate sized tower. Would be the tallest building in town, but not totally out of scale here. Hurston Yards, this would be absolutely huge. This would basically take up 3 blocks in Bend. So it's very, very big. The Kansai Tower would again be the largest building in town, would take about 2-ish blocks. But not totally out of scale here. I could see this working. The Great Tower of Commerce, aka the Sears Tower, is massive. Would absolutely dominate the skyline here. And then some of the office buildings are going to fit in a variety of builds. You can see that this could work just fine here. So could the Karunya. So could this financial tower. The Spire would be a building that would dominate the skyline here, but it could be worked in, I think, a little bit easier than some of those other residential towers. The Arroyo Seco building could absolutely work here, but the footprint of the building is much larger than you realize when it's by itself. And then the Long Wires Tower, that brutalist Art Deco building, could absolutely work here. Now for supply chains, I figured I would show you these assets in my industrial park relative to some of the assets I already have placed. And we have our particle board factory right here. You can see that this is about half the size of the incineration plant. The cereal mill is about 1/4 of the size of the incineration plant. Livestock processing is a little bit bigger, but still about 1/4 of the size of the incineration plant. Same story with the energy drink bottling plant. The athletic footwear factory is about half the size of the incineration plant, half the size of the geothermal plant, and almost identical to Switch On. Rocket Fuel Refinery is another one that's 1/4 of the size of the incineration plant. Blast Furnace is about half the size of the incineration plant. Steelworks is much larger than the incineration plant, basically 2 of them. Concrete batch plant is a little under half the size of the incineration plant. Nanopolymers, about 1/4. Casting fabricator, again, about 1/4. Fabrication unit is about a little under half the size of that incineration plant. And the gravity separation unit is about 1/4 the size of that plant. For the commercial assets, I figured I would throw them into a downtown. So we have an antique store. I'm just going to place that right here quickly. And you can see that this blends beautifully. I just kind of threw it on top of an existing building, but it fits so nicely into this downtown. That is lovely. We've also got our baker and confectionery. This is actually a very large asset. You're going to need a very specific size block to make this work. But I just kind of threw it in here, and you can see at the front, it fits very nice into one of these downtown areas. Might want to place this on a corner. I placed it mid-block. Certainly doable, but you're probably going to need to manually move assets to make it look nice, where I think if it was either on a standalone block by itself or in a corner, it would look much, much, much nicer, especially since you have all of these lovely windows on the side of the asset as well. Relative to a block here in Bailey, this farmer's market is absolutely massive. So if you're going to place this in your community, you're going to need a couple of blocks most likely to make this work. Then I placed the sporting bar right here, and this really fits nicely in the main street in Bailey. Kind of a unique looking building, very modern looking, but still has that same setback as some of the historic buildings. So it feels like a retrofit project. And then for the sporting goods store, I feel like the best comparison is the marketplace, which comes with the vanilla game, kind of the Costco looking building. And you can see that this absolutely dwarfs that. This makes that building look small. So this is by and far the largest shopping center asset in the game at this point in time. Then finally, we have our offices, and these we're going to try out in downtown Bend, and you can see that this could fit perfectly in the downtown area, this interior design studio. Television production studio would basically take a full city block down here, and honestly, that makes perfect sense to me. If you've ever seen one of these, they basically completely fill in a city block. For the livestock exchange, it's about half of a city block and would fit nicely into the downtown Bend area. The bottle cap office is about the same size as the French City Hall. Same thing with the Brandon Lifestyle Center, about 1 Bend City block. Payload Launch is a little bit bigger than a Bend City block. The steel building is about 1/3 of the block, and in terms of height, it wouldn't look out of context at all in Bend, nor would the energy lobbying office. In fact, this one would kind of blend in nicely. I think I got to add both of these into the build shortly. And then finally, we have the strip mine office. This is a very suburban office, and it's about twice the size of this sports complex right here. And it wouldn't feel out of context at all right here in the Forest Hills Office Park. Would fit perfectly. Now, if it wasn't obvious to see already, I absolutely love both of these content creator packs. I feel like they are pushing the game into directions that maybe even the developers hadn't really considered. With Revo's use of the skyscrapers, having all the city services as upgrades to these towers, I mean, that is just incredibly creative. The assets are absolutely beautiful. If you're building a dense downtown, you're building a mega city, I don't know how you could build it without this content creator pack. As far as the other content creator pack, Supply Chains, I think it's a must buy for basically anyone that's a fan of Cities Skylines 2. Whether you're building small towns or a large city, something in there is going to appeal to you. It's just so good. I love that it has that new gameplay mechanic. It makes me want to start over and build a brand new city. It's that good. Now again, both of these content creator packs come out on December 3rd in just 2 days, so be sure to check them out if you're interested. But for now, I think that we're gonna leave it here, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I wanna thank you so much for your time today. There's a million things that you could have been doing. You decided to hang out with me and go over these content creator packs, and for that, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.